Alright, so I'm going to start by explaining that these are static meshes. And static meshes cannot move. They're static, hence the name. So in order to script a door to open, you have to have a thing called interactors. Okay? Now if you go to your content browser and have your door highlighted again, the only way to add an interactor is not be able to click and drag it to here, but you have to have it highlighted and right click and say add interactor. Okay. And now let me go get my other one. So basically, the first thing students do is make static meshes. And when they do that, it fails. And then that's usually the first question is, hey, why don't these work? So if I double click these, you'll see that this is now a static mesh actor. And if I double click this was an interactor. So make sure you know the difference. One allows it to move and to be scripted. Okay, cool. So let me delete the static mesh one so we don't get confused with that. I was going to show the Kismet error, but that wouldn't work. So let's go to Kismet. And you should have absolutely nothing here. And what I'm going to do is right click in the Kismet window and say add new matinee. So right click, new matinee. Then double click matinee and it comes up with the timeline. Click on my one door on my left, right click over here and say new empty group. Type in left door. No underscores, no weird characters. Let's click on my other one and right click here and say new empty group, right door. Again, same properties. Now to test this out, I should be able to highlight this one, left door highlights, this one, right door highlights. You're halfway there. So now let's go to the left door one and right click on it and say new movement track. Let's go to this one, right click, new movement track. Perfect. So we'll go over just the timeline here. This is my time slider, which looks like nothing until I click on it and drag it. I'm going to set this out for 2 seconds. Notice it already has a key here. So this key is stating at the purpose of what I first initially plopped these in at and initially added the movement track. So this is its state, closed. So I'm going to put this at 2 seconds. And then I'm going to take this door and rotate it. And then I'll set a key. Then I'll grab this movement track, rotate it, and set a key. So now I have a key here and a key here. And if I scrub across the timeline, these doors should open. Awesome. So once we're done with that, we're done with the matinee window, and we can close it out. Now we just have to figure out a way to trigger this event. Very easy. Right click and say add actor, add trigger. Then we'll move the trigger to the center of the two doors. And if you want the trigger just to be a little bit bigger as far as this green collision mesh goes, you double click on it and you can up the trigger radius to, like, say 50. Good. Now With that highlighted, you can right click here and say new event using trigger, and I'm going to be able to touch it. So touch. I can move these nodes around by holding control and dragging. Okay. When this is touched, I'm going to play the matinee, and when it's untouched, I'm going to reverse it. And let's try this out. Right click on it and say play from here. Okay, walk up to it. Door opens. But the door does not close. Why? Well, the door doesn't close because I never told it how many triggers I can go off. So here's a trigger. It only triggered once. I have to trigger it an unlimited amount of times, so I put a 0 here. Okay, let's try that again. Now, nice thing about Kismet is you can just instantly trigger it, go in, try it out, trigger it again, try it out. Yep, closes. But the one thing is when you're going out, this door might become a little hard to get through. Okay, so let me show you why. The door needs to be blocked all. So if you double click on it, we can go into here, go to collision, and we need to set the collision for this door to be block all. Oop, there's a couple places we had to get this, so let's type in COL. And that way we can get to it right here. We're going to do that with the other door also. Block all. Okay, so let's try this out. So going through this door, no big deal. And I could turn around. But going this way, see what happens? The door pushes me out of the way and doesn't open all the way. So that's what I was talking about. There's another way to do this where if I trigger it, I can trigger it to go the opposite direction and not using this type of trigger, but using a trigger volume. So in the next video, I'll show you how to use a trigger volume.